You gutted him like a fish in that apartment, too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
When we think of dangerous criminals, teenagers usually don't come to mind. But in the US, there are quite a few young people who committed some of the most brutal crimes imaginable. In this video, we're breaking down the most intense reactions of teens who were sentenced to life in prison. So go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive in. In March 2024, the state of Mississippi was rocked by the shocking case of 15-year-old Carly Gregg. She was convicted of murdering her own mother and attempting to kill her stepfather. It all started when Carly was confronted about her drug use. She got angry, grabbed a hidden handgun from the house, and shot her mom in the bedroom. Then, using her mom's phone, she sent fake texts to lure her stepdad back home and shot him too. Luckily, he survived and managed to call 911. Carly was arrested shortly after. During the trial, her defense claimed she had undiagnosed mental health issues, but the jury didn't buy it. When the judge announced a life sentence without the possibility of parole, Carly finally broke down in tears. Up until that point, she'd been cold and emotionless, but once the sentence hit, it was game over. Back in 2006, Texas was shaken by the horrifying case of Dexter Johnson. He and several accomplices carjacked 23-year-old Maria Aparecida and her 17-year-old boyfriend while they were sitting in their car. The couple was taken to a remote area where Maria was sexually assaulted while her boyfriend was forced to listen. After that, both victims were executed and left in the woods. Johnson was arrested a few days later after trying to use one of the victims' credit cards. During the trial, he stayed calm and showed zero remorse. But the moment the death sentence was announced, everything changed.
Dexter Darnell Johnson, the jury has found you guilty of capital murder. In accordance with the laws of the state of Texas, this court hereby assesses your punishment of death. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is going to complete your jury service. I'm going to meet you in the jury room.
All rise.
He froze, then collapsed. His body shook, he couldn't stand, and he began yelling uncontrollably. The courtroom descended into chaos. Family members were crying, officers had to step in, and the session was briefly paused. Later, his execution was put on hold due to concerns about possible intellectual disability. But Johnson is still on death row, waiting for a final decision. God! 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 When someone's wheeled into a courtroom strapped to a chair, you already know things are about to get real. That was the case with Damon Kemp, a Florida teen accused of killing two 19-year-old friends in 2018. As soon as he entered the courtroom, he started yelling, "Oh God," over and over, already sensing what was coming. He was completely unhinged.
God! 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 God!
Shouting, trembling, and acting like he was having a full mental breakdown. The judge had to keep pausing the hearing just to get things under control. Kemp had stormed into an apartment and opened fire on Trey Ingram and Jordan Payton. A witness heard the shots and called the cops. In court, when he found out he wouldn't be granted bail, things got even more intense. He was eventually convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 3 life terms. He narrowly avoided the death penalty, but his courtroom meltdown is still considered one of the wildest in U.S. legal history.
Under these circumstances, I am not able to grant you bond or any form of pretrial release.
Back in 2013, the case of 18-year-old Isabella Guzman stunned Colorado and the entire nation. She brutally murdered her mother in their home, stabbing her over 150 times in the face and neck. Even seasoned detectives were shocked. After the killing, Isabella fled, but was caught in a nearby parking lot. During her police interviews, she denied everything, claiming her name was Samantha and insisting she didn't even know who her mother was. She refused to acknowledge her father father or any of her family members. In court, her disturbing behavior got even weirder. Cameras caught her making strange faces and creepy smiles. Show clip: a psychiatrist later diagnosed her with severe schizophrenia. Initially, she was sentenced to life in prison, but that was overturned. She was declared not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to a mental hospital where she remains to this day. She's considered too unstable to be released back into society. What was supposed to be a simple meetup from the app Meet Me ended in disaster. 18-year-old Kyandria Cook and her boyfriend Kendrick Bass lured two men to a remote area with plans to steal their car, but things spiraled out of control when Kendrick ended up shooting one of the guys. Bass was sentenced to life in prison, and Kyandria faced her own charges. In her first hearing, she cried, apologized to the victim's family, and begged for a second chance to finish school, but the judge didn't go easy on her. He said she actively participated in the ambush and sentenced her to 20 years in prison. Her reaction? Pure devastation. Her whole family thought she'd get off with probation or something lighter. Later, her sentence was reduced to 11 years in prison, followed by 20 years of probation. She's currently served just over half her time, but her emotional breakdown in court is what most people remember about her case.
Charges sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
Teen shooters showing zero remorse are sadly not that uncommon in the US, but what made the case of TJ Lane so infamous was the level of cold-blooded cruelty he displayed. In 2012, during the start of a school day in Chardon, Ohio, Lane opened fire in the cafeteria, hitting 6 students. 3 of them died, and 1 was left permanently disabled. Lane was 17 at the time, and a former student at the school. Despite his age, the court chose to try him as an adult due to the brutal nature of the attack. His defense tried arguing mental illness, but his courtroom behavior destroyed any sympathy. At one point, he showed up to sentencing wearing a white t-shirt with the word killer handwritten across the chest, and when it was his turn to speak, he looked at the families of the victims and said, "The jury didn't hesitate."
Saying pull the trigger, the killer's done. No, right.
He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, over 100 years total. To this day, he remains locked up, and society seems to agree. A guy like that should never walk free again. In 2014, Dylan Shoemaker, a 17-year-old from New York, became the center of one of the most heartbreaking cases involving a teen and a child. He was babysitting his girlfriend's 1-year-old son, Austin, while she was at work. But when she returned, the baby was dead. During the trial, Dylan constantly cried, with puffy eyes and a red face, pleading. He claimed it was an accident.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
But the autopsy told a different story. Multiple bruises, internal injuries, signs of suffocation. The jury didn't believe it was just a mistake. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. Later, he admitted he was just trying to get the baby to stop crying, which honestly only made things worse. He didn't receive life without parole, but his breakdown in court and the nature of the crime left a lasting impact on everyone who saw the footage. Teen girls can be just as deadly, and Mackenzie Sharilla's case proved it. In 2022, what first looked like a tragic car crash in Strongsville, Ohio, turned out to be something far more sinister. Surveillance footage showed Mackenzie, then 17, speeding up to nearly 100 miles per hour before slamming into a brick wall without even touching the brakes. Her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and his friend, Davian Flanagan, were killed instantly. She was the only one who survived. Prosecutors argued it was a deliberate act, a form of twisted revenge after a rocky relationship. In court, she sobbed uncontrollably when the guilty verdict was read. She was sentenced to 2 life terms with the chance of parole after 15 years. The judge called her actions intentional, calculated, and cold. Today, she's serving her sentence in a state prison, living with the fact that one reckless decision destroyed 3 lives, including her own.
The court, having had count 1 tried to pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Sharilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo. in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, discharged in count.
In one of the most infamous school shootings in recent memory, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley carried out a deadly attack at Oxford High School in Michigan in November 2021. He used a handgun his parents had bought just days earlier and brought it to school. He killed 4 students and injured several others, including a teacher. In court, while families sobbed telling stories of their lost children, Ethan showed zero emotion, no tears, no apology, nothing. His complete lack of remorse was one of the main reasons the judge handed down the harshest sentence possible: life without the possibility of parole. He became the first minor in Michigan history to receive that sentence. His parents are also facing charges for their alleged role in enabling the shooting. As of now, Ethan remains incarcerated in a maximum security facility. At just 17, Danta Wright took part in a robbery that quickly turned deadly. He and 2 others tried to rob 18-year-old Jordan Michael Klee, a student who was just on his way to school, but instead of taking his things and leaving, Wright pulled the trigger, killing Jordan in cold blood. During sentencing, Jordan's mother gave a heartbreaking speech through tears, but while she spoke, Wright sat there smiling. Yes, smiling. The judge was clearly disturbed by his behavior, calling it one of the coldest and most disrespectful courtroom reactions he'd ever seen. Wright never apologized, never cried. He just sat there like it was all a game, and to this day, that smug smile he gave in court still haunts everyone who was there.
I want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.